EDgun Leshiy presents Urban Pest Control. I'm getting a ton of emails and DMs asking questions about shooting heavier pellets at slower speeds, and specifically how effective it is. I've even seen people ask me if the pellet is bouncing off of them or if it's actually penetrating. For those folks, I don't know if I'm going to be able to help you, but for educational purposes, I'm going to tackle this in today's video and help answer why I do it. So, if you're here for the normal EDgun Leshiy Smash Fest, have no fear. We're addressing these questions with tons of video evidence, if you know what I mean. So, if you like that slow motion scope cam video, you'll be thoroughly entertained. A lot of my mates on the other side of the pond are subject to some pretty insane power restrictions for air guns. Specifically, it's 12 foot-pounds. So it really only takes 8 or so to humanely take a squirrel, or anything smaller for sure. But it requires pinpoint accuracy. So I have a ratting setup that I call Mr. Pink. Here, I'll show it to you right here. This thing's set up at about 12, 13 foot-pounds or so, and it's absolutely perfect. I take rats out to 30, 40 yards without any problem. And it sounds broken. It's so dang quiet. Recently, I also set up one of my Leshiy 2s just like this. So it's shooting a 22 cal 25 grain pellet around 550 feet per second, or just under 17 foot-pounds at the muzzle. So to give you a visual, here's what that looks like on a squirrel at about 30 yards. So watch the energy dump here. The pellet never leaves its body, meaning it dumped 100% of that 17 foot-pounds, or maybe a little bit less by the time it got down range, into the squirrel. So this is crazy accurate, super quiet, and clearly it's humane. First, let me address why a heavy pellet and slow speed approach actually is a good idea. So in an urban environment, safety and silence are probably the two important elements that you're considering, but leaving accuracy out of it, that's a given. Heavy and slow is basically silent, well, at least to the point where it's drowned out by the ambient suburban noises. You're typically shooting the gun far below what it's capable of, making it even quieter. So you add a suppressor, and like I have on all of mine, and your neighbors are going to hear you fart before they hear this thing. So you always need to be cognizant of what's behind your target, even shooting like this. So watch this one, and you'll see how much energy the pellet still has after it passes through. An earshot, even at 12 foot-pounds, still will pass through, as you're dealing mostly with soft tissue at that point. So this is an ideal point of impact, though, so be careful. This is exactly why I built the table for one. I can bring them to a safe place to dispatch. Taking this guy up in a tree, I'm replacing my neighbor's window probably at some point. Let me pause the action here for just a second. Actually, I'll do a little picture-in-picture for you guys. But I just wanted to thank today's video sponsor, Pyramid Air. With a closet full of Leshiy 2s, I go through an insane amount of air, and pellets for that matter too. But they were kind enough to send over the Air Venturi compressor for me to check out and use. I get a ton of questions about how to fill the PCPs I shoot. So here's the high level. With PCP air guns, you really have kind of 4 choices. A hand pump, which, let's be honest, is about as much fun as the doctor telling you to turn your head and cough. The next is a carbon fiber bottle, and if you have a scuba shop or maybe a fire department near you that can fill them, it's not that big of an inconvenience. They're usually like $5 to $10 to fill. This is an ideal starting point, as the bottles aren't too expensive. Also, you'll never regret having a bottle either. So if you go up to the next 2 options, it just wasn't a wasted expense. So I always kind of tell people to start there. The next is a direct fill micro compressor. I actually don't have any of these to tell you about, but they're there, and you can check those out if you want. And then moving on to the full compressor that you can not only direct fill to the gun, but you can also fill a bottle, like this one that you're seeing here. So compressors can get super expensive pretty quick, so that's probably the biggest drawback. So far, this guy has been pretty awesome. You need to keep an eye on the oil levels and the filters and all of those important things. But this thing is about as plug and play as you get. I filled my bottles up about 8 times so far, and it's just honestly, it's been a godsend. My scuba shop's about 5 miles from my house, so I mean, it's not that big of a deal. But just while I'm on a conference call or something, I go plug the thing in and come back down 15, 20 minutes, and it's done for a bigger bottle like this. So thanks again to Tyler and the folks over at Pyramid Air for sending this over. If you're in the market, I'll drop a link in the description to go check it out. All right, now let's get back to it. Next, let's check out the effectiveness of low speeds and heavier pellet approach. So the result is a larger percent of energy being dumped into the animal. So zipping a pellet straight through something in many cases will do far less damage than slowing a heavier pellet down to maximize not just the damage from the path of the projectile as it goes through the animal, but the concussive energy transfer. So showing these shots in slow motion really illustrate that. So let's check out a few. Truth be told, prior to the Leshiy 2, I think I set up almost all the different egg guns I owned to the lower end of their capabilities. I had the R5M, I think was the one I had shooting the hardest, and it was only shooting a 34 grain 25 cal pellet around 700 feet per second for the bullies, and that was more than enough. So we'll close out this power kind of discussion, but I got a ton more footage for you guys. So in the end, it's really about personal context. Where do you live and what critters are you dealing with? There's certain animals, raccoons for example, where I adjust my thinking differently. So those things are just super tough. They're like little bears, really. For them, I have a higher power setup like I did with the Matador. In fact, with the Leshiy 2, though, I've gone way higher. And I mitigate the risk of pass-through by limiting the shots I'll take. So I'm either at an elevated position or I have a significant backstop behind me. It's always fun to look back at some of the bully footage. Honestly, it's insane what's going on in my yard when you stop and really kind of think about it. I've been filming here on this channel for what now, about 3 years, and it's nonstop. So, but what's mind-boggling is it's been going on for 40 on this property. Some of the stories that my neighbor tells me are just unbelievable. I had the Leshiy Classic setup that you're seeing here in 30, shooting something like 550 feet per second or something like that. Obviously, that's much higher than 12 foot-pounds, but watch the energy dump here. And more importantly, within an urban environment, zero pass-through. This was one of the last Dirty 30 triple sessions that I had with the Leshiy Classic before I sold it to make room for all the Leshiy 2s. I actually don't think some of this stuff I've ever shown. I had the ATN Binox 4Ks out to help film as well, which, as a side note, these things are incredible. They film day and night, have a built-in IR, and will range for any of the ATN optics or just tell you on the screen. What a cool little, I guess call them binoculars, right? But they're really not. They're night vision, binoculars, rangefinder, and film in 1080p. So, anyways, if you're in the market for some self-filming devices, this thing is incredible. Go check them out. Here's actually what they look like, and some more sample footage from them. So I'll drop a link in the description if you want to go check them out. It always surprises me how they'll just sit like basically right on top of each other. One's laying dead there, another one on the ground. Who knows? They just don't seem to care. Here's the final one from that day's triple. While I could take 10 plus a day if I wanted to, I usually stick to 3 or 4. Not every day, but when I'm out there. So this thins out the herd, but doesn't completely remove all of them from the immediate kind of trees. So I found that if I remove all of them, a much larger crew will just kind of come in. And if I just leave a few, there's still enough to defend their territory for a bit with only a few versus the 10 plus and that whole new crew that comes in and just wreaks havoc on the house and tries to lay claim to the oak trees, that surround my crib. Man, that was a crazy couple of minutes. Literally just stacking these things. Alright, let's sneak in one more here, and then we're going to finish up today's video with a slow stroll down slow and heavy lane with an OG track from none other than Ebert Humperdinck.
Lonely table just for one, in a bright and crowded room, while the music has begun. I drink to memories in the gloom, though the music's still the same. It has a bittersweet refrain. So play the song the way it used to be, before she left and changed it all to sadness. And maybe if she's passing by the window, she will hear our love song and the melody. And even if the words are not so tender, she will always remember the way it used to be. Friends stop by and say hello, and I laugh and hide the pain. It's quite easy to let go. Then the song begins again. So play the song the way it used to be, before she left and changed it all to sadness. And maybe if she's passing by the window, she will hear our love song and the melody. And even if the words are not so tender, she will always remember the way it used to be.
Yes. Man, it's been a while since we've had a good old table for one session. The OG days. Those were the days. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching the EDgun Leshiy channel. Want more backyard hunting videos? Grab your favorite beverage and get yourself caught up. There's hundreds just like the one you just watched. Here's a couple favorites to get you started.